Welcome back to week 8 NFL prop picks and anytime touchdown scores with myself, Jacob Smith. Back again, week 8, coming off a 1-1 week 7. Um, let's just jump right into it. Cordero Patterson had more rushing yards and receiving yards for the first time this season. Who could have guessed that? So that was the one we lost on. We also had Darren Waller over 5.5 catches. He was unfortunately hurt. When I was looking at the injury report on Friday, I think it might have been for Thursday, and I might have skipped over him or I might have missed his name, but I didn't see him. So he actually ended up missing the Sunday game versus the Eagles. So that was the void. And I can't remember who I had for the anytime touchdown scorer, but I know that Damian Harris, yes, the best bet of the week. So those were the three last week, 1-1. We're hoping to build off of that coming into week 8. Week 8's a little bit of I wouldn't say like a tricky slate, but there's a lot of value in like a couple of games where like there's some other games where you're not really going to get the value because of the name attached to those players. But before we jump into it, we're always going to shout out our boys, Sports Interaction. We have a bonus code with them, Mayflower Sports. Deposit $100, get 125% of your deposit back in free money. So $125. You can obviously do various amounts, but it will only go up to $100. 18 plus, gamble responsibly. Canada's official sports book. They are the only sports book right now in Canada that you're legally allowed to bet with. And they're a really good, reliable site, easy to put money on, easy to take money off. You get good odds. Just want to give them a shout out. Make sure you go get that free money. You place that $125 free bet on one of these player prop picks, win some more free money, and then you're just laughing. There's no reason to not sign up, get that free bonus, place that bet on one of these, or place that money on one of these bets and win some money with me. But jumping into our first pick this week, we have Zack Moss of the Buffalo Bills, anytime touchdown scorer versus the Miami Dolphins. That's coming in at plus 105 to plus 130. Simply, I don't like the Dolphins defense. I don't like what they've been showing this year. They've been attached to Tua, or attaching their name to Deshaun Watson trades. Deshaun only wants to be traded there. We have no idea what's going on there. I think that creates a lot of unrest on both sides of the ball. You draft this guy Tua thinking he's going to be your franchise quarterback. You're with him every single day. You're spending, off time with him. He's obviously, I would say, a leader in the locker room. Most quarterbacks are looked at as leaders in the locker room because it's the most important position on the field. But that being said, with all this going on, I feel like Buffalo at home, this is just easy pickings for Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to score a lot of points. I think it's going to be a one-sided game. I think Buffalo is going to come out and dominate the Dolphins. That being said, Zack Moss right now, he's definitely the lead rusher. I know Devin Singletary, as the weeks have gone on, he's progressively been more involved. But right now, I think Zach's the guy in that backfield. I think with the game script, how that game's going to go, I think Zach's going to have maybe a couple chances to punch in a TD in the red zone. I'm not saying he's going to score multiple TDs, but I definitely think he has one in his bag. I love the way the Bills play. They really mix it up. They do pound the ball a lot, and they do play action a lot. They do go deep. They do the intermediates, the under routes. They have a complete offense. And I think just for that, it's going to be too much for the Dolphins to handle. And if Moss doesn't score early, I think there's definitely always that possibility of him scoring a garbage time TD or when the game's out of reach. This is one that I think will last the game. It's not something where, like, if it doesn't start out well, then you're just kind of out of it with the game script. I don't see the Dolphins coming out and surprising the Bills by any means. Zack Moss, I will say, he hasn't been too crazy of a touchdown machine this season. He only has, I think he has 4 touchdowns, but 2 of them came in one game, and that was like 4 weeks ago. And then he's had 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. So he's come on a little bit. They are starting to use him, but he doesn't get the yards that most running backs get. He's usually in and around that, like, I don't know, like 30 to like 60 range. He's not one of those rushers that's going to get you 100 yards or 80 yards a game. So I feel like the value for him is on the anytime touchdown score. You could look at somebody like Devin Singletary, who I think was coming in closer to like a plus 170, which has a lot of value. But I see him more as a receiving back. So unless the Bills, early Devin Singletary punches one in or gets a dump off from Allen in the red zone, I don't see him getting as many touches as the game progresses just because he isn't that between the tackles runner that, ball possession runner that Zack Moss is and can eat up some clock. And in the last 3 games against the Dolphins, I think Zack Moss is only averaging like 30 yards on, I think it was like 9 or 10 carries, but he's almost averaging a touchdown a game. So he almost scores in the last 3 games. He's almost scored in every game against the Dolphins. So I think that gives us a little hope that this will cash. This probably isn't my best bet of the week, but this is definitely, I think, the value bet of the week. That's why I led off with this one. The last couple of weeks, we haven't really, I wouldn't say we haven't chased the value. So we haven't been kind of, going after guys where we're like, oh, that's a really good price. We've been more going after guys that we know what they're capable of, what they can do, and then looking at the number and seeing how we feel about it. But again, I think Zack Moss is a really good pick this week. I think at the price, you can't go wrong. And Buffalo, for me, this is just going to be an easy win. And there's no reason Zack Moss shouldn't get a goal line touchdown or break off a little run for a touchdown. So that's our first pick this week. Zack Moss, anytime touchdown scorer versus Miami Dolphins. Again, coming in at plus 105 to plus 130. I don't think we'll see this line move too much because it's been kind of varying across different books. So I feel like when it does come out, that's probably what it's going to be set at most places. You're not going to see the money coming in too heavy, I think, on these to swing the line or swing the price at all. So you realistically could wait till Sunday to lock this one in if you kind of want to just do a little more research, kind of look into the matchup a little bit more. But again, I'm pretty confident in this one. I do like this pick this week, and I think it's one that is going to cash. But moving on to our second pick, we have Joe Mixon, anytime touchdown scorer at the New York Jets. That's coming in at a minus 110 to minus 125. Do not be surprised if this one moves. If you have a book that allows you to bet anytime touchdown scorers in advance, which I know some do and some don't, definitely lock this one in early because I think this is going to move the closer it gets to game time. I think minus 125 is the high price we're seeing right now at a lot of books. And I still think that's like really good value. I think maybe closer to like 140, minus 140 would be minus 150 maybe would be what I would have it set at, just because I know how bad the Jets rush defense is. We saw Damian Harris last week. I'm pretty sure Stevenson also ran a touchdown in, and Bolden, I'm pretty sure he ran a touchdown in. So they had 3 different rushing scorers last week. I'm almost positive. So that just gives me nothing but confidence taking Joe Mixon this week. I think this is easily the best bet of the week. You can't go wrong with this. Cincinnati's been absolutely rolling, coming off a huge win against Baltimore. Joe Mixon's looked really good. He looks like, I know Jamar Chase and even CJ Uzama, both of those guys have been studs the last couple weeks, but I feel like Joe Mixon is the key piece to that offense because it brings them balance. It gives them somebody that can run between the tackles, can catch out of the backfield, and keep the defense on their toes, knowing that you're not just going to be vertical the whole time and just try to throw the ball. And Joe Burrow's been excellent coming off his injury. I know the first couple weeks he didn't look the best, but they were still winning. So you were kind of waiting for them to fall off, I guess, just thinking Joe's play would eventually catch up to them and they would start losing games. But it's been the complete opposite. He's actually grown into the season. He's playing really well. Cincinnati looks like a pretty good team. I'm not going to say they're going to cause damage in the playoffs. I think obviously last night seeing a banged up Packers team go into Arizona and beat the Cardinals, who were 7-0, just goes to show those elite teams. It doesn't matter, if they have a loss on their record or 2 losses on their record. As the season progresses, they're going to get better and they're going to be forces to be reckoned with. And I feel like the Bengals are doing themselves a favor by jumping out super early, getting this, big cushion in the division. And not big cushion, because obviously Baltimore's still in that division, but in like the playoff race, they're giving themselves a cushion. If they do lose a couple games here or there, they're still going to have a chance. But I feel like come playoff time, if they are there, I don't think they're going to make a huge run. But back to the game, I feel like Joe Mixon again, they've been feeding him a bunch. He's been scoring a bunch. He's been really good this season. I know for the boys in fantasy that play fantasy football, it's pretty easy to translate fantasy football into these anytime touchdown scores and prop bets, just because you're paying attention to the fantasy so much. You know what guys are doing on a weekly basis on your team or on other teams and different things like that. So for me, I know going into the season, a big sticking point for a lot of people was that Joe Mixon wasn't going to be used in Cincinnati and that he was very undervalued in fantasy football. And I think on a betting aspect, he's being undervalued too here. And I feel like this is easily the best bet of the week for us. Lock this one in now. I don't know how much longer these prices are going to stay like this. I feel like the closer we get to Sunday, the more it's going to move, and we're going to lose out on a lot of value that we're seeing today. But on to our third and final pick here. And this one's a little bit of a different one just because I couldn't find a price for this anywhere, but I could find the number, which was kind of odd because I thought, I'm not an expert. We all know Andrew McGinnis, who I host the Game of Inches with. That's the betting guy. So I had reached out to him and I was like, man, like, I want to give out this pick, but like, there's no number attached to it. I don't know what to tell people to look for it at or where to find it at. And he gave me a good idea of just like, tell the people what you would bet it up to. So what number for the receptions or the like the rush yards or just whatever you think. Just you do the number in your head and then tell the people, this is what you would think to bet on in between these numbers. And so for that, there was this week, we're going back to the Philadelphia Eagles. A guy playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going TJ Hockenson. So the number I've been seeing that it's been coming in at with no price is over 3.5 receptions, which is like ungodly low for how good he's been this season. I think one time this season he's had under 3.5 catches or under 2.5 catches, whatever it may be. I know he's had 4 catches a couple times. I know he's had 7 or 8 catches a couple times, 5 catches a couple times. So for me, if you can find this at 3.5, it doesn't matter what the price is. If it's coming in at like, minus 170, just unload your whole bank account on it. We saw last week, Foster Moreau absolutely torched the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, Foster Moreau. Who is he? Backup tight end for the Raiders. Not Darren Waller, not Henry Ruggs, not Brian Edwards, Foster Moreau. That's all we need to know about the Philadelphia Eagles slot corners and linebacking core. Garbage. And this is my favorite team. So this is why I am very confident in this. If this number comes in at 3.5, you have to take this. If it comes in at 4.5, I'm still all over this. 5.5 is where it's going to get a little tricky and it's going to get a little dicey. And at that point, if it goes to 5.5, I would look for his yards or an anytime touchdown score for him. I think once you start hitting that 5.5 number, especially with a tight end, even if he's the best receiver on the team, you're playing with fire. It's not something that gives me a lot of confidence. So again, TJ Hockenson over 3.5, over 4.5, definitely lock that in. I think you're going to see if it's 3.5, it's definitely not going to come in at a favorable number. I think it's going to come in, like I said, close to like minus 150, minus 160, minus 170. But if we get that 4.5, I think we're definitely going to see that down closer to even money or minus 125. And I think even at that number with the total of catches, I think we have to lock that in at 4.5. He's been an absolute animal for Detroit this season. I know Detroit's been god awful. The offense has gone missing in some games, but you have to remember who they're playing and how hard they've played in every game. The Eagles are garbage. At the start of the season, I can openly admit and say I was optimistic that we could win anywhere from 8 to 10 games. If we win 8 games, that is an unbelievable season for how we've been playing. We are one of the worst teams in the NFL. We might not look like it from game to game, but just if you watch us every single game like I do, we are god awful. We don't run the ball. We can't stop anything. Jalen Hurts, God love the guy, but he looks like Sirianni's doing him no favors. He's not helping him out at all. And it's just abysmal. The linebacking core is awful. Every time this season we've played any sort of tight end minus Travis Kelce, we've got 8. We got 8 up. So again, I feel like TJ Hockenson over 3.5 or over 4.5 is an absolute steal this week. If it gets to 5.5, I'm going to tell you to be wary. If you still want to lock that in, I get it. But I think you're going to have a better time locking in his yards or an anytime touchdown scorer because the number is going to be a little bit more friendly, and I think you're going to get a little bit more value on that. So again, those are my anytime touchdown scorers and prop picks this week. Hopefully, we're going to come back with a little bit of a stronger week than the last couple weeks. Obviously, 1-1-1 isn't terrible, but we want to be cashing bets for you guys. These are ones that I research and I look into, and I like the matchups, and I try to apply my football knowledge, my fantasy football knowledge, and a little bit of betting knowledge to kind of come up with these picks that they're going to have some value, and they might not be like the most common picks every week. Like, I don't want to be coming here every week being, take Austin Eckler anytime, or over on yards, or take Kamara over on receiving yards and a touchdown, or come here and, take Hollywood Brown anytime touchdown score. Like, these guys, obviously Hollywood Brown hasn't cashed every week, and that still is a really good pick. I think I shouldn't have used him as an example, but just using players, I don't want to use players that are pretty much shoe-ins every week. I want to kind of bring you guys a couple different names, a couple different people that have been playing well, try to like hop on a trend. So like, I know Hockenson's cashed the over 3.5, I think every week since week 4. So like, why not try and get on that trend before? Obviously you want to be on at the start of trends, not the end of trends. But at this rate against that matchup, it's like, why not take that? And again, like, Joe Mixon's been absolute stud this season. I feel like the books are undervaluing him. He's playing one of the worst defenses in the NFL with one of the most hot offenses in the NFL in the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been scoring nonstop this season. Why not, bring you a Joe Mixon instead of, say, someone like Derrick Henry, whose number is going to be a lot lower. You're going to get a lot less value, but it might cash. But, who wants to put like, say like $250 on a minus 200? Like, that's not really that fun, right? Why not? You could put that minus 110 on, you could put like 150, let's say, on that minus 110 for Joe Mixon, and you're winning more money, more value. And it's still, I think, the same likelihood of cashing. And then Zack Moss obviously is the value bet this week. I still think it's going to cash. Miami's been abysmal. There's so much negative energy going on with that team. I think it's just written in the stars. Buffalo's at home. We're getting a good price. Zack Moss has scored 2 of the last 3 weeks. Obviously, the yards haven't been there, but again, they're using him much more of as a red zone back. And I feel like against the Miami Dolphins at home, Buffalo's going to be spending a lot of time in the red zone. So for week 8 NFL prop picks and anytime touchdown scores, I'm Jacob Smith. Hopefully these cash for you guys, and we'll be back for week 9 with some more winners. Peace.